with a new chapter on, or with a new section on wills and inheritances. So, first of all, what is meant by will? What is a will? So, a will is to give the ownership of something to an entity or an individual, providing this takes place after death of the person writing the will. Whether this is in wealth, property, or benefits. And this word wasiyyah is derived from connecting to that person or that entity that a individual wants to give to after his death. What are the wisdoms of it? There's so many. Among them would be that people, when they're alive, they may be a bit careful over what they have, a bit stingy, a bit negligent. And Islam wanted to give us room to be able to give away something that would benefit us after death. So this is a chance to catch up. Even if a person had died, yet still he may have the possibility, the chance to make a difference by giving something of what he possesses. Now, when we talk about wasiyyah, will, most people think that this refers only to the financial aspects. So, I write in my will, I give X amount of money to this person or to that organization. That's it. And this is not entirely true. Wasiyyah can refer to keeping part of the wealth of the money to individuals. You make a will that they take care of your family, of your kinship, of your children, of the orphans, of how it is spent, that is the wealth. And the greatest will of all is when you advise your heirs religiously. So most great wills contain an advice to the children, to the wives, not to mourn in a sense that is haram, such as wailing and tearing the clothes or pulling out the hair, etc., expressing their sorrow and grief. This is all haram. This is wailing, and it's a major sin. Advising the children to observe salat on time, to protect your legacy and name, not to cause problems with others, etc. And also, you can have general ways of wasiyyah, where you ask, and this would be a recommendation, some say would be an obligation, that your daughter would be given in marriage by such and such guardians, people whom you think that would take care of a good selection. Likewise, if you leave orphans, who would take care of them? Who would be their guardian and look after them and their wealth, among other things. So, in short, this issue of writing a will is mentioned in the Quran. It is mentioned in the authentic Sunnah. And it is the consensus of all scholars that it is permissible to leave a will. And we will come to whether it's permissible or mandatory or recommended or prohibited. In the Quran, so many places Allah says, Azza wa Jal, min ba'di wasiyyatin yusi biha aw dayn. When speaking about inheritance, Allah says, this division is done after a will or a debt to be paid off. And this is why the scholars said that there are 4 rights that must be taken from the wealth of a deceased. So the minute one of us dies, there are 4 rights. And they compiled it into the Arabic word tadum. T, in Arabic, the letter ta, dal, waw, mim. Tadum. So the first thing when a person dies is that we block his wealth. So no one has the right to take from his ATM, from his bank account, from his wallet, because this is now the heir's wealth, not the wife's, not the children. So the moment he dies, his financial must be secured. And the first thing to take from his wealth is the letter ta in Arabic, which is the beginning of tajheezu al-janaza, the preparation of the funeral. So if we need money to hire someone to come and wash the deceased body, if we need money to buy shrouds, if we need money to buy perfume, all of this is taken from his wealth. If we need money to buy a spot where we can bury him in, because some countries don't have public cemeteries that you bury people for free. They insist that you buy a plot of land or a family space where you can be buried in. So we have to take the money from his wealth. The wife and children say, no. This is our money. We are the heirs. We need to divide the money now. Unfortunately, this is what happens after a person dies. Everybody, like hyenas, wild hyenas, they jump and want to take their share, which we will come to discuss later on, inshallah. So the first thing we do is take the inheritance, take what is needed to prepare the corpse of the deceased. After that, we have the letter dal, the D. And this is allocated for the debts. So before we give a penny to any of the heirs, we call out people. We check his will. If he had left debts behind, we have to pay them off. So one says, well, he didn't leave a lot of cash. In this case, we have to sell the property. But my mother lives in the house. This is not our responsibility yet. The deceased death meant that all of his assets must be allocated for these 4 things that we've just mentioned. First priority, preparation of the funeral. Secondly, paying off his debts. So we sell the house, we sell the plots, we sell the stocks, we sell whatever we can sell just to pay off his debts. And the debts are not something that are hearsay. So if I come and I say, listen, your father borrowed from me $100,000. Okay, uncle, we respect you. We believe you. But you have to have 2 witnesses testifying. We had no witnesses. Okay, then, uncle, we need a document proving that. We have no documents. Okay, uncle, Jazakallah khair, this is the exit. You can leave whenever you want after drinking your tea. This is rude, I know. But this is not a charity organization. Anyone claiming that he gave money, we give him without proof and evidence. Otherwise, the whole neighborhood would come and claim that he borrowed something from them. So we have to pay off the debts. Ta, dal, waw. The letter W, which stands in English and Arabic to will. After we prepared the funeral and paid for it, after we have paid off all of his debts, he still has money. Then we have to look into the will that he left behind, either testifying 2 men about on that issue, that I leave so and so to so and so, or he wrote a document and authenticated it with a signature or with a lawyer or something that is credible and legal and beyond doubt. So we execute the will, as we will come and see how to do that. Finally, the 4th right, which is mim, which is the heirs, the inheritance. Now we can divide the inheritance according to the Sharia law, after all these rights were cleared with the grace of Allah. So when we come to the issue of will, what is recommended and what is haram and what is mandatory, what is permissible, etc. So the permissible will is the one that when you have a lot of money, and remember that this is a common note when we ever speak about will. The will is recommended, is needed when you have a lot of money, and it becomes prohibited when you do it in means that are not permissible, and it becomes makruh and not preferred when your money is little and your heirs are a lot. So you have to always consider that writing a will is when you have plenty of money left behind. Now, the first thing you have to pay attention to is that there is a limitation in terms of how much you can write a will for, and in terms of who to you can write a will for. So in terms of amount, the Prophet ﷺ, in an authentic hadith, visited one of his great companions, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. May Allah be pleased with him. One of the 10 heaven bound, and he was so sick that he thought that he were going to die. And that was at the beginning of Islam, when he only had 2 daughters. So he said, O Prophet of Allah, I am thinking of getting close to death, how much would I write a will giving away a portion of my money? Can I write 2/3? He said, no. Can I write a half? He said, no. Can I write a third? The Prophet said, a third, and a third is a lot. So he approved, alayhi salatu wasalam, that when you want to write, when you want to donate, when you want to give after your death, you're entitled to give away 1/3 of your wealth. And he said that 1/3 is a lot. This is why Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with the man, with his father, said, I wish people would write their wills not more than a quarter, because the Prophet said 1/3 is a lot. But the Prophet did not prohibit it. So 1/3 is your limit. 1/3 of what? 1/3 of whatever a deceased left behind. And this is why we have to calculate the possessions and the wealth of the deceased before distributing it. So it's not sensible to just divide what he has in the bank account, and few months later we calculate how much is this and how much is that, how much stocks he has, if he had jewelry, if he had expensive watches. No. The thing is, you should calculate and estimate the value of everything he left behind. The plots, the house or houses, the cars, his clothes, the furniture in the house, his valuable personal things such as watches, pens, cufflinks, if he had stocks in different companies, if he had bank accounts, if he had investments here and there. All of this is calculated. And then we look at the will. If he says, I leave 1/3 of what I have to charity organizations, to Zad TV, to Peace TV, to Huda TV, or to the Islamic Center in West Virginia, or to a publication that publishes Islamic knowledge and information for free, or for taking poor pilgrims to perform Hajj every year, etc. Whatever. This has to be executed as he wished. So 1/3 is the max.